Welcome to CSB Television. April is National Jazz Appreciation Month, National Poetry Month, National Autism Awareness Month, and International Guitar Month. In the month of April, we will be sharing videos from the past that has anything to do with guitars, autism, poetry, and jazz. Let's take a look at today's video. Talking with people with music in their genes, their blood, and in their soul. You are watching Musical Interlude. Hi, welcome to another episode of Musical Interlude. My name is Casey Bell, your host, and today's guest is Robert Wagner, a man who chose to follow his dream of songwriting and producing music. Let's take a listen at his story. All right, first question. When did you first discover your musical abilities?
Oh my. Well, I don't know about abilities, but just say love. From the time I was little, when my cousins and when we would play with the kids in our family, we always had these little children's turntables and all kinds of children's records and records that our parents used to listen to, scratchy things, and we just always were playing with music. And when my father was working on things, we would take boards and nails and rubber bands and try to make musical instruments. And parent adults would joke with us, "Oh, you need to get a recording contract." So, well, how do you do that? And we would copy the addresses off the little records and write letters to the record companies. Of course, we never got a reply, but always loved music. And my ninth birthday present was an acoustic guitar and a guitar lesson. And that night, my cousin and I made up a bunch of songs in my bedroom and performed them for our aunts and uncles. Uh, and then a few months later, my mother came into the guitar teacher that I had an hour a week or a half hour a week lesson, and she came in and said, "Does Bobby have any talent?" And he said, "It's really not about talent, it's about hard work. But he does have a good sense of rhythm, which is something you can't teach. He has good rhythm and good timing. The rest of it is a question of hard work." Now, there are people that have so much musical ability they have more ability in their pinky finger than I will ever have. I'm a pretty good writer. There are people who can play as fluently as I can write. They have a vast musical vocabulary. As an instrumentalist, if an idea occurs to me, I have to figure it out and work it out and practice it. And I could practice it for 5 years and still potentially mess it up. There are people, like if you're a symphony musician, you don't make mistakes. You would lose your job if you made a mistake. Or James Brown apparently was really hard on his musicians. He demanded perfection. Perfection is something you'll never get from me as an instrumentalist. But I have enough drive to, I think, compensate for whatever I might be lacking elsewhere.
So when did you decide to take this full on to actually make records and make music and to record? What
Well,
was the encouragement or the inspiration that caused you to do it? Because many people want to do it, but they never do it.
yeah, well, that's
So,
well, for me, how negatives can turn into positives. Uh, I always wanted to play in a band. I mean, I always did, but never thought it was feasible. I can't sing that well. I can't play that well. It's what I want to do, but can't do that. But I knew I could be a writer. So I was lucky enough to be able to go to college. And when I was at the university, I was getting a lot of encouragement from my writing. Instantly writing people kind of recognized that I had something. But deep down inside, I'm writing songs. You think these are poems, they're not poems, they're going to be songs someday. And then two things happened, maybe three, that kind of just worked together. One, punk rock happened. Punk rock was that back to the people, do it yourself. We're locked out. A lot like the origin of hip hop. We're locked out. We have to make something up for ourselves. We have to entertain ourselves with the resources at our disposal. And so that gave people like me license and potential venues wherever punk bands were playing. I was like, well, I could play there. And then I also was stricken with a rare form of cancer. And, I had a summer job delivering pizzas and kept on feeling like discomfort when I got in and out of the car, more or less estranged from my family. And a friend of one of my roommates said, better go to the emergency room. Went to the emergency room, and within 24 hours they're operating on me. And this is back before the days of cell phones and everything. So I'm on the hospital phone calling everybody I know, and nobody's home because everybody's in classes or working. Uh, and it just turned out that I was lucky. The doctors that I had were on the cutting edge of the research, and they knew of a experimental treatment that is now, state of the art. They had to get a permit to use it on me, and it worked. But still, there's that whole trauma of, oh no, I'm finally happy for the first time in my life, and now I might die. And me and the guy that John Creighton, the guy that I started my first band with, we were totally miserable, sitting in a place called the Squirrel Hill Cafe, and we looked at each other and said, we need to start a band. And that was that. And uh, so all we needed was the license to start, because once I was in, I'm a lifer. This is I'm an extremist. There's nothing that could make me quit. And when we're first playing with other bands, you're looking around. It's like, okay, that guy's going to be working for a bank in 3 years. That guy's going to be selling real estate in 3 years. Not but two or three of us are going to be doing this 40 years from now. And it's a little bit like, I don't know if you ever had the experience of going onto a playground and they're picking teams and you're not getting picked, but you're thinking to yourself, when I get my chance to play, you will all change your tune. And that's kind of a satisfying thing. Is the swift don't always win the race. Slow but sure, hang in there, refuse to quit. And and I do have some real talent. I can really write songs and put a band together. Uh, like the Three Little Pigs. If I have straw to work with, I'll make something cool out of straw. Give me sticks, I'll make some sticks. Give me bricks, and I'll make something. But I can make music with whatever I have at my disposal.
So I believe you're in at the moment two bands. You have two bands you play with?
Well, the Little Wretches is sort of like my lifetime project. The first band I started was called No Shelter, and basically a lot of overlaps. It's pretty much the same members that became the Little Wretches, but we kind of discovered what it was that we bring to the table, or I discovered what it is that I bring to the table. And as a writer and a lyricist, you realize in loud rock and roll settings, especially if you don't have a record out and you're presenting new information to listeners, you're throwing a lot of information at them, first of all, so there's sensory overload. And if the music is too loud, I'd always get from people who came to hear us, I can't understand a word you're saying. Then after they hear the recording, then they have a different experience because they already know what the lyrics are, and so they can pick it out. But I kind of discovered I have to take a different approach, and also thematically, I'm not like a love song writer. I'm like a real writer. I would put myself, obviously, and I'm not in the same field as August Wilson, but I'm doing with my songs a lot of what August Wilson was doing with theater. Taking a natural conversation, pulling it out that I'm overhearing, pulling the people that I interact with, and trying to get a little bit of real life and real flavor into my songs. So I tend to stick out like a sore thumb in the community of love songwriters. So the Little Wretches was going to be uh, the frame for my songwriting. Every song tells a story, but every story needs a context. Every picture needs a frame. So the idea was, with the Little Wretches, I would find a way to present my music in a way that gave it a chance of being appreciated. And we've changed over the years, but that's my band. You know, we've played folky acoustic stuff. We've played really hard rocking stuff. Like the album that's kind of out now is pretty high energy. You might call it pop rock. Uh, a lot of people say, I thought you guys were folk rock, but you sound like a cross between the Clash and the B-52s. It's like, I'll take that, but to me, it's about the song. I'm not a formalist. You know, whatever instrumentation, whatever audience we get a chance to play for, we can adapt. But there's something deeper in here that we're trying to bring out. There's people who we're trying to honor, stories that we're trying to tell, and so we cut across genres, and you find out that most people have pretty different, but people who love music tend to love a lot of different kinds of music. But what you don't want, like say if you go to a pizza place, you don't want them serving you Chinese food. You know, if you go to a Chinese place, you kind of want to get what you expect a little bit. So there's that. We got to give people what they expect. So okay, this is an acoustic show. Okay, this is an electric show. This is kind of a house concert setting. Give them enough of what they need to feel secure, and then give them a handle to come into your world, and then make something happen. Then now make some communication happen. Whatever you do, you don't want to make people too defensive, but you still want to surprise them.
Okay. Now this next question might be a little difficult to answer, but try your best to explain maybe just some steps you took to start recording, start releasing CDs, and start getting gigs. And what resources did you use to gain that knowledge? Because it's not something you can literally, there's no school for becoming a
No,
recording artist.
no,
So how did you even know what to do? Did someone tell you? Did you read about it? So what were the steps you took and how did you know to do it?
okay. Well, the first time we were in a recording studio, uh, people who love music, they're trying to find a way. Wouldn't this be great if I could do this for the rest of my life? So while some of us are trying to start bands, there's other people who are thinking, in the long run, I could make more money if I run a studio, So the first time we were in a studio, the singer of our band had a friend that he grew up with that had a basement recording studio. I mean, the first time we played a gig, I didn't even know how to put a microphone stand together. I had no idea how anything worked. But just being in the studio, saying it's not that hard. What you need is the band to be good, the material to be good, and you need somebody else who knows how to run the equipment. And you have one thing I knew is it's important to be productive, and you can't try to build the Empire State Building if you don't have the resources to build the Empire State Building. So you have to, with the resources that you have to have an achievable goal. So what I've been good at, I like a lot of artists, I've read a lot about my heroes. And you realize that some of the Beatles classics when they were first starting out, it was just one 12-hour session where they went in and basically played their live show with a really good engineer who knew how to capture it. And they might have to do multiple takes, but they were basically playing their live show. A lot of Bob Dylan stuff was more or less live in the studio. Say 5 years of his best work came down to 3 days in a studio. So, I know the band, if you can go in and play live as possible, and keep as little distance between what you're doing and what the audience is going to get. I mean, it's not the way people do it today. Where they're working on on laptops, and a lot of the instruments aren't even being played. But if you can get the raw music down, so I learned a system, and a lot of it was just intuitive. Why not? We go to studios. So here's how it was for me. I'd go around to studios. I know we want to make a record. So we need to visit studios, and you have the engineer say, "Well, what do you want to sound like?" I want to sound like us. Well, I can make it sound like this. Here's Prince. Here's Madonna. No, I want us to sound like us. Can you do that? And some, if you can't grasp that, then I don't want to work with you. So we found an engineer who just kind of got it. And we basically record the band live, and then we overdub the vocals because the vocals you're going to want to tweak. And we overdub like instrumental solos. So you want to get those just right, and background vocals and the coloring and maybe a little percussion. But the basic core of the band, if you can do it on stage live, you can do it. And the most recent album that's out, the Undesirables and Anarchist album, the engineer basically said, if you guys can record without headphones, so I don't have to give you a headphone mix, just go into the room and play what you're going to record. Just, give yourselves vocal, for eye cues and head nods. If you know the material that well, I could have you guys ready to track as soon as you're done setting up. By the time you're done setting up, I'll be ready to start taping. But the band was really, really well rehearsed. The songs were road tested, audience tested, so we knew, but not wrote. It wasn't like we knew it so well that we could play it in our sleep. Uh, so we went in, we nailed it, and that's my approach: is as live as possible, and then you add coloring to it. I recorded with a band here in Philly. I'm in the Philly area, and they were doing some of my songs. We went into a studio, and they did it kind of like the official music business way, where they lay down. Everybody plays live, but they're not really tracking it. They're only tracking the drums, and you do 6 takes, and then the engineer cuts and pastes the best performance together. And then the bass player plays along with himself, does 6 takes, and they cut and paste what they think is the best performance. It's like, so in other words, we're going to hear like what's 6 times 6 times 6 times 6 times 6. We're going to all play this song, 100 times by the time it's over. And studio time, professional studio, that's expensive.
Yeah.
Why not just, man, learn the material, play like you mean it, and get it on tape? If you should be able to get it, and that's a lot of classics. I mean, back in the early days of the pop music industry, and in the 40s and the 50s and the 60s, a lot of that stuff set up a mic, or even jazz guys like think John Coltrane and guys like that. Man, a couple of microphones in the studio that are really top quality engineers and great mics, but they're not overdubbing, and they go in there and they play. You get some magic. So that's that. How did we learn? By doing it, and by staying in our abilities.
Okay. And if there was a musician you could meet for a conversation, whether they be dead or alive, is there anyone out there you would like to talk to? And
Oh man. Well, I mean, hundreds of them. Because when you read music biographies, they almost never ask the questions that I would want to ask, which is, what was the creative process, right? Here's a song that has a great piano part, a great violin part, a great bass part, great background vocals, but it was probably written by a guy who sat down with a guitar, or somebody who sat down at a piano. How did you go from that original idea to this, you know, masterpiece?
right.
And that's what I'm curious about, but they never focus on that. The hard work of being a writer, the revision process. Which ideas did you throw out? What did you try and decide, now that's not really what I'm going for here? Uh, so I mean, there's so many. Uh, do I really have to name a name?
No, if you can't do it, that's fine.
I'd name 100, because literally, and
Yeah.
from a lot of different genres. Uh, you know, wouldn't have minded being back in the old, Sun Record studio with Sam Phillips. When he was still recording the Blues Guys. Before he even started with Elvis and people like that. And they're really using their ingenuity with, we have this recording machine, we have this room, we got these microphones. Let's see what we can do. And oh, okay, this sounds pretty good. I think people will like this. I would have liked to seen that trial and error. You know, did you ever see the movie about Buddy Holly, the Buddy Holly story?
I never saw it. I've heard of it and I've
No,
seen bits and pieces of it, but I haven't seen the whole thing.
yeah, so I mean, I don't know how historically legit that is, but at one point they're basically, recording in somebody's basement. And like, okay, that I would have liked to, been part of that process because that's sort of what I do. It's like, okay, what do we have to work with? What can we make with what we have? Uh, that's, you know,
And I see you have your guitar with you. Um were you did you have a song in mind you wanted to play?
no, I thought I asked you. You said that I wouldn't be playing. This would be an interview, but my
Well, because
guitar,
you have
my
it with you, so I
security
thought maybe
blanket.
you
It's my
thought,
security blanket. If I
oh,
didn't
it's
have my guitar, what would I be doing but sit here feeling awkward and you know. But if you wanted me to play one, didn't you ask me if there was a song that we wanted to focus on? Was that you asking?
yes.
Yeah.
I've,
I mean,
I,
I could
s-
try to play that song. I think I said "Who Is America." If I,
I think it was, yes.
yeah, you want me to give that a shot?
If you are, if you can do it, sure.
If
I don't want to
well,
put you on the
I
spot.
don't. This is your show. I'm in your house. I don't want to be rude, but yeah, I'll give it a shot. I'll give it a shot. Now, can I say a couple of words about the song?
Sure.
Okay. Uh, this is this is one of those songs that has been kind of, as I say, road tested, audience tested before we recorded it, and we've recorded with a few different versions of the band, and this is one of those songs that for people who know the Little Wretches, this is one of the songs that they look for. What when are you going to play Who Is America? And from the time I wrote it to where we are now in the country, the world has changed a lot, but the song still holds up. So um, give it a shot. And counting the bottles all empty and broken, spending your time daydreaming and hoping. You live check to check, you're trying not to complain. And try not to think of what you'll never obtain. You're up in the morning and you're down in the spirit. You're 5 minutes late and they don't want to hear it. Get docked a half hour, get shocked by how pointless these people are, mindless and spineless and jointless. Who is America? Is this America? Who is America? Is this America? Who is America? Is this America? Prettier girls caress styrofoam coffee cups. A cigarette smoke and a mirror for making up. You look pretty normal, but you feel out of place. 'Cause you don't care about the things they chase. Your family and friends give each other support. You're spending their lives selling themselves short. The years fly past when you're caught in the flow. A person can't want what a person don't know. Who is America? Is this America? Who is America? Is this America? Who is America? Is this America? Who's the big shark in the small pond? Who's the uncrowned king of the dump? Every now and then you like to toss a few crumbs to watch all the suckers jump. You take care of your own kind first. Those who have shall have more. There's one pen mightier than the sword that signs a declaration of war. Any boy can be president, but only one per generation. When one man strikes it rich, 99 others find deprivation. For every beast of burden who is cut loose from the yoke, 99 others work twice as hard, believing they've got a hope. Don't be afraid when you're out late waiting for morning. You're by the riverside, you're watching raindrops on the wharf. There's thunder and the lightning, it's gonna start pouring. We didn't pay a dime, you got the best view in the world. Who is America? Is this America? Who is America? Is this America? Who is America? Is this America? In America they call it fear. Ooh, in America they call it fear. Ooh, in America they call it fear. Ooh, they call it fear. I didn't even tune this guitar. I was just sitting here with my guitar in my lap. Thank you for asking me to play.
Thank you.
If anybody out there likes it, that's even better.
Well, I thank you for sharing your time with me. I'd like to thank Robert Wagner for sharing his story and his time with me on the musical Interlude. And I want to thank you for taking the time to watch. Have yourself a great day.
Counting the bottles all empty and broken. Asthmatic parasites feeling and choking. The pay stuff discarded when your wallet gets stolen. Your lipstick is thin and your eyelids are swollen. You're
That is all the time we have for you for today. Thank you for watching. We hope to see you again